how's it going? It's Big Lair here, Jack's Private Coffee Corner. I'm sitting here in an office, about ready to work with a client in about 20 minutes. I'm here early, and on the way here, as I was getting out of the train station, I remembered that this city is a place that I used to hang around in a lot, and I had two very memorable episodes in this city. One was probably an alternate reality. I entered an alternate reality, and then the second part of that was meeting two Japanese men in black. Let me back up and give you some background on my story here. So we were living in this city, my family and I, my wife and I, and younger son. I only had one kid then. And we were doing something in the town, town next to here. And it was kind of off the beaten track, this place we were going. So I'm the kind of guy that I like to take roads I've never been on before, So I noticed there was a road that kind of followed the train line. It paralleled the train line that I used a lot. So I said to my wife, hey, we've never been down this road. Let's try this out. Let's see how far this road goes. So we're driving down this road, and after about 10 minutes, we come upon this really big park. A big park with, new equipment. It looked really nice. It really stood out in Japan because most parks are small. They're so tiny that you couldn't even play like catch ball or anything. And if you had a soccer ball and kicked it, it would immediately, be out in the street or something. So really the parks here are so tiny, you can't imagine how tiny they are. So this was a huge park, lots of room to run around in, and very nice equipment. It reminded me of being in America. So even though my son was only around 15 months old, we decided to go there, and we had our video camera and we had our normal camera. So this, I'm talking about, over 16 years ago. So we spend this awesome day, the three of us at the park. My wife takes all these amazing photos. We've got videotape of the three of us at the park playing around. We had parked our car, on this road that was parallel to the train line. We videotaped the train going by numerous times. We took a break, went back in the car and sat down and had some snacks and something to drink. And my wife and I were videotaping each other while we were doing that, talking with our son. And we were going to, make the footage into a home movie. So that was great. Went home, perfect day. Now fast forward to about 3 to 4 weeks later, where we have a plan to meet with my good friend and his wife. We're going to go out to dinner. So we had kind of goofed around and gone shopping earlier. And so then we leave this shopping mall to go to my friend's place. We get there like 30 minutes faster than we thought. There was no traffic and everything was so smooth. So I said to my wife, hey, since we have all this time, let's go back to that park, And my friend lived right on this train line. So I said, I think it's just, 5 minutes up the road here. Because we had been there before and taken video and taken photos. So we decided to go to this park, and we can't find it. So we're driving all over the place, driving around in circles. And I said, well, that's really weird. I know it was between this train station and this other train station, and that's where we are. Well, maybe I remembered it incorrectly. Let's go to the next train station. We'll look between, these two train stations a little farther away. Nope, that parallel road ended. There was no way we could get next to the train tracks. So we're driving around. And I have a pretty good memory for roads and where I've been. So I finally find this road along the train tracks And then I'm, piecing together where we were. And I know that next to this park, there was like a huge condo, this huge, like I would call it an apartment building, but in Japan they call it, like condominiums, 25-story building with individual condominiums in there, like apartments, right? Apartments that people buy instead of buying a house. So I remembered the name of that place and where it was in relation to the park and in relation to the train tracks. So I finally find the road, find that building, and I say, well, this is the building because I remember the name because they had used English in the name of the building. Here's the train tracks, the park should be here. But now, where the park should be is a huge factory. And obviously there was not a factory there because, we spent time there. We had video evidence of it, photographic evidence. So as we're sitting there, I suddenly get this feeling that, oh man, we got to get home. Something's not right. Let me just adjust my phone here. I'm holding it. So, I immediately feel like, boy, we got to get out of here. Something's not right. I felt really, really funny. I said to my wife, we got to get home. So I drive like a bat out of hell back to our apartment. And standing in front of our apartment, there's a guy in a black suit knocking on our door. Well, I shouldn't say knocking on our door. He's trying to look in the window of our living room. And he's standing, in front of our door. We got a little tiny, like stucco wall that goes around a little yard, and he's leaning over this wall trying to look in the window. Meanwhile, there's a second guy in a black suit on a tiny bicycle, one of those, collapsible bicycles that are kind of popular now. But this is 16 years ago. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Someone's trying to get into our place. So I tell my wife, you guys stay in the car. I'm going to kick these guys' asses. So I pull up. They both see me, the guy in the bicycle. He doesn't tear off, but he gets out of the way so that I can park in our parking spot. So they knew a little bit about us if they knew where our parking spot was, right? And then the other guy, he quickly goes away from the door and starts to move towards the far end of the building, near where we had just come in the parking lot. So I jump out of the car, I give my wife the house key and say, you guys get in the house, I'm going to take care of these guys. And my wife was a little nervous because until this point, I don't think she had ever heard me swear before, and I was swearing, to speed up the process of her and my son getting in the house, because I knew something was really wrong, right? So the guy in the bicycle, he's looking at me like this smirk. And I had already processed in my mind that, oh, these are two men in black, but these are Asian men in black, And I had heard about men in black before. And I was, I don't want to say I was prepared to meet someone like this, but I wasn't nervous about it. I wasn't fearful. I was really angry. And I remember this guy smirking at me and me thinking I'm going to rip your head off. So my wife gets in the house and I just start walking towards the guy with a purpose, with a, let's just say, focused intent on taking care of this guy. Well, he just tears off on this bike, and the other guy is at the very end of the building where we came in the parking lot, and he zips around the corner, and this other guy now is hauling ass on his bike. So I run around the building. Now, it took me maybe 3 seconds to get from where I was to the end of the building and to look around the corner to see where these guys went. 3 seconds tops. Now, across from where we lived, there was a 7-story apartment building, and you could only see part of it, one end of it, about a quarter of it, about a quarter of the end, and you had to turn around the corner of this place where we live to see the remaining 3/4 of it. So 3 seconds, man, I'm sprinting. I get to the end, I look. The guy on the bicycle is nowhere to be seen. The guy who was at our door, I'm looking for these guys, right? I notice he's on the 6th floor of this apartment building looking down. You know, there's like a walkway on each floor, you know, like a hallway, I guess. He's now on the 6th floor, and distance-wise, I would say he would have had to run 80 meters just to the stairs, and then you would have to go up 6 flights of stairs. So in a matter of 3 seconds, this guy made that distance and was up on the 6th floor. Come on, he makes Usain Bolt look like an old lady running, right? And the other guy is no longer on a bicycle. He's behind the wheel of a van, of a black van. So I'm like, oh man, this is some Men in Black shit. Wow. I run in the house to grab my camera. Again, I sprint into the door. The camera's right on my, you know, when you walk in the door, you've got like a little table there in your entryway. I always had the camera there because we took it wherever we went and took photos. I tear it out of the case, turn it on, and as I'm running, I take 2 photos of me running to make sure that, yep, it works, yep, it works. I get to the corner, so maybe I'm in the house a total of, we'll say I was slow, 10 seconds maybe, right? I ran in pretty fast. I think it was less than 10, but I'll say 10. I get back out to the side of our building. Now both guys are in the van, and the van is coming towards me on the road. I put the camera up, the camera will not work. I hold the camera down to the, you know, I face it towards the concrete, you know, the ground. Boom, I take a photo. I put it back up to where their van is, it won't work, the button's jammed. I put it down to the ground, boom, I take another photo of the ground. And now, by the time I put the camera up, their van is passing me and they're both looking at me, and I'm holding the camera up trying to take the photo, and I'm letting loose with a stream of expletives at these guys, letting them know how much I appreciated their visiting my house. And they turn the corner and tear off. So I don't know what that was all about. That was the strangest thing. You know, it sounds similar in some ways to the Men in Black stories I've heard of people in America or Europe. But I've never heard of anyone encountering, you know, Asian Men in Black. I don't want to say they're Japanese Men in Black because they looked Asian. They look Asian. The one guy, you know, when he looked at me, when I was getting out of the car thinking, I'm going to kick your ass, he had one of these very primal looks in his eyes. You know, if you've ever seen anyone who's, you know, if you've been in martial arts or done any fighting or been in tournaments, you know there's a look in someone's eyes when they're, you know, just ready to go for it. You know what I mean? They're ready to rumble, so to speak. He had that look. And, you know, in my mind, it didn't matter what he looked like. I was just so angry. I'm not trying to say like, hey, I'm a tough guy or this or that. I'm just trying to tell the story as it happened. And maybe someone else out there has a similar story. I'd like to hear it. And I'm not sure why these guys visited. Now, I wondered, was it because I found this, you know, slipped into this alternate reality and then realized, hey, there's something weird going on here. Or a number of weeks prior to this, I had found an underground nuclear base. Well, I say underground nuclear. It was an underground base powered by nuclear energy. And it was just kind of weird. My guides led me to it and said, oh, here's the cooling pond for it. Like, what? Boy, this is out of place. This is in the middle of a very busy city. And they had 2 cooling ponds. One was full of water and one was empty. And they had these huge pipes coming out. So like anybody would do, I picked up these huge rocks to see if I could hit these cooling tubes. Let me tell you, when you hit those, when you hit those cooling tubes with a big rock, man, does that make an echo. So it might have been that. It might have been me messing around, noticing these cooling tubes of this underground base. And the interesting thing about the underground base is I went to check it out like 3 or 4 days later with my son. I was on a bicycle and had him on one of those kid seats, Now there was a fence around the thing, a really tall fence with a warning saying stay clear, danger, and all this stuff, which wasn't there previously 3-4 days ago. So somebody came there and put that fence up and the warning signs up pretty quick. And the cooling pond that was empty that I was throwing the rocks in, now that was full of water. So was it that? I don't know. But coming here today and walking through the station made me remember that story. And now that I think about it, I have another story from this station of getting on a train and meeting what I can only describe as, this guy on the train who wasn't really a guy, I think. He was just part of the software of the Matrix. And let's see, it's almost time for me to meet with these people, so I'd better stop this video or they'll think I'm nuts hearing me talk about this stuff. But I will continue the video later and tell you about the guy on the train who was not a human in my opinion. He was just a piece of software, a piece of code, and I messed with the code a little bit. And that's another fun story. So, okay, when I'm done and on my way home, I'll tell the second part of this tale. Okay, take care. Hey, everybody. Well, you just heard my story from last night there. I was not able to finish my story on the way home. And by the time I got back to my place, it was pretty late and I just hit the sack. So you heard the story about the park that disappeared, or was it a slip into an alternate reality? I'm not sure. And about the Japanese men in black. If you'd like to hear one more story, which is about a filler human who is part of possibly just a software artifact of our reality, not a real person, but just someone who is taking up space to make things look normal. If you'd like to hear that story, please jump over to Patreon. I'm going to have that story included over there. That's a quite interesting story that happened to me about 15 years ago and made me realize that not everyone we see every day is real. There are these filler humans, I think. And if there are filler humans, there are most likely filler animals and other things, maybe sometimes trees or mountains, or could be cars, could be anything. If there are humans who are not really humans, as in they don't have a soul, they don't have an aura, and they're just basically programmed to do a certain task, to carry out their task every day, to make things look normal, to make this reality seem, like things are moving along smoothly. If there are humans, then there certainly must be other things. So if you'd like to hear this story, please jump over to Patreon. Okay, you guys, I hope everybody has a great day, and be looking for another video from me in a few days. Take care.